Greetings, I'm John the Spirit.
I'm Arch Ezekiel.
What if we had, like, so much mana? And welcome to Ultimate Alchemy Recap Super Shorts. In this episode, we're going to be discussing what I pretended I would tell you about last episode and then failed to, the Entropinnyum process. The Entropinnyum is a Botania-generating flora that produces energy from the power of exploding TNT. As you probably noticed many times in the last episode, when TNT explodes near an Entropinnyum, it doesn't cause any damage. The Entropinnyum absorbs all of the energy, unless, however, it is already full of mana. If the Entropinnyum is unable to absorb the energy of a piece of TNT, then that TNT will explode and destroy everything. So you need to be very delicate with your system. Since you can't read how full the Entropinnyum is, you have to tell by a more indirect method, which is the mana detector. The mana detector turns on whenever mana runs through it, but it is not always on because mana spreaders run in pulses. So if we rely on the mana detector is off to turn on the TNT, then we will release a lot of TNT, and that will be very bad. So our first goal was to figure out a way to know that the mana detector is on even when it's off. And to do that, we needed to use Integrated Dynamics Delayer. The Integrated Dynamics Redstone Reader can tell a variety of things about a block, and the thing that we're currently accessing is whether the redstone in this block is high. We stuck a variable into this redstone reader, and it gave us the variable card redstone high, which we stuck in this delayer. Every operation of the delayer, which we have happening once per tick, the delayer will read the value of the variable. The variable references the redstone reader, so every tick, the variable card will tell us whether the mana detector is on or not. The delayer fills up a list with a capacity of 30, so basically, every 30 ticks, the list will be completely replaced with new values. Another way to think about this is that during a 30-tick interval, if the mana detector was ever on, then there will be a true value inside this list. To get that list as a variable, you stick a variable in this bottom slot, and we named that variable redstone readings in the last 20 ticks. It's actually last 30 ticks now, but that's whatever. Now, this list contains at least one true value if, in the last 30 ticks, the mana detector has been on. So we can use a literal contains operator. We just check if this list contained true at any point, and then we return true to say that mana did at some point go through the mana detector. That was the main hard part. The other bits are quite a little bit easier compared to figuring out how to use that delayer. I am told, by the way, that our chicken from last episode has finally grown up. Hello, I hope you enjoyed your eternity in captivity. Anyway, just because the mana detector is off doesn't mean that we are finished. If we place down a TNT unthinkingly whenever the mana detector is off, the mana detector could be off for the entire time that the TNT is landing and exploding. And so we might accidentally put down more TNTs and cause more TNTs to fall, and then we have a problem. To deal with this, we need to make sure that TNT only falls after the TNT before it has certainly exploded. And so we have an RF Tools timer that runs every 9 seconds. Every 9 seconds, this redstone receiver receives a pulse for a single tick. We read that pulse in the variable switch is on. And if the switch is on and we're ready for TNT, which I'll talk about in a little bit, then we create the signal TNT ready and allowed. This signal is on for 1 tick every 9 seconds, which is long enough for a TNT to fall and explode, and therefore turn on the mana detector. And if the mana detector is on, then we don't need the timer to worry about anymore. The timer is our delaying apparatus to ensure that we never release more than 2 TNT before the mana spreader can turn on. So now we've dealt with the timer and the detector, let's talk about the mana pool, which we need to check for fullness. We can do that using the comparator feature of the redstone reader. This variable is connected to the mana pool comparator, and we are checking using greater than if the mana pool comparator signal is greater than 13. Finally, we check that the switch is on using this redstone reader and the variable switch is on. I guess I should have, the redstone for the timer is this signal on every 10 seconds, which turns on, every 10 seconds. So now it's time to combine it all. If mana has been going through the mana detector in the past, we don't want to run. If the mana tool is full, we don't want to run. So if either of these variables is true, we don't want to run. We don't want to be ready for TNT. So we're using a NOR gate. The NOR gate returns false if any of the inputs is true. So if mana has been going through in the past, or the mana pool is full, then the ready for TNT variable will turn off, and we will not be ready for TNT. If both the mana detector is off and the mana pool is not full, then we are quote-unquote ready for TNT. If we are ready for TNT and the lever is on, then TNT is ready and allowed by us using an AND gate. And if TNT is ready and allowed and the timer has turned on, this redstone writer on TNT will send a signal because of the TNT trigger variable, which is true when TNT is ready and allowed and the timer is on. So all that said, TNT is only dropped when the mana detector is off, this switch is on, the mana pool is not full, and this timer is on. To get the mana out of the Entropinnyum and into the mana pool as fast as possible, we used an Elven mana spreader and a mana lens of potency. The Elven mana spreader requires Dreamwood as well as Elementium, both of which come from Elven trades. And the potency lens is just a mana lens, which is mana and glass, and a rune of fire. We were able to reduce the time of the Entropinnyum enough that we only needed to run the timer every 9 seconds when we initially thought it was 10. Be very careful when changing the timer. Whenever you change the timer length, it will immediately pulse. And so we actually had a problem where we released 2 TNTs at the same time and exploded stuff and had to make it all again, which was very sad. But anyway, that is how we get the TNT to explode, without destroying everything. We do use a mechanical user to immediately replace the TNT once it is out. And that TNT comes in from the refined storage system. Initially, we had the refined storage system creating TNT from gunpowder, from fire charges, but we were running the pulverizer way too hard. So we were like, how else can we get the gunpowder? As it turns out, flint can be turned into gunpowder in the alchemy catalyst. And turning 5 flint into 5 gunpowder does not use all of the mana that you get from exploding a TNT. Very little bit, in fact. So, to make the TNT faster, we needed to make a system that could make TNT once every 9 seconds. That requires 2 mechanical crafters making gravel, specifically to turn it into flint, and then a set of mechanical crafters making gravel and sand, so the sand can be used for TNT in this autocrafter. When we do not have enough TNT in our system, and we check how much TNT there is because we have an external storage on this mechanical crafter, very funny of us, I know. When there is insufficient TNT in the system, this transfer node will activate and send flint into this open crate, which will drop it into a mana pool over an alchemy catalyst, producing gunpowder. The Hopper Hawk picks up that gunpowder because of this item frame, which filters it to only pick up gunpowder, and it sticks it in this mini chest. And then we can make TNT in the autocrafter. And we use an external storage to store it, and then we can export it into our lovely mechanical user. And that's how we get our TNT, which incidentally is not that terrible a thing because TNT can be pulverized to get Drop of Evil at a 10% chance, and then Drop of Evil can be Magma Crucible into Industrial Grade Evil, which at some point we need for Wither Skeleton Skulls, which we need for the Ultimate Alchemy. So it turns out we did get one step closer to the goal in this episode, but at least we also got a lot more mana. And we do need a lot more mana, like I said in the last episode, for those Gaia Spirit replications. I guess I can tell you now what the Gaia Spirits are for. The Gaia Spirits end up being used in the Petal Apothecary to produce dragon tongues, which are used for dragon heads, and each dragon head produces 1 draconium. Okay, it turns out I'm a liar. You do not need 1 dragon head per draconium, which is something that we thought we needed. It turns out dragon head is a press that's used to make draconium, so you just need to make it 1 time. So you only need this dragon tongue 1 time, so you need 1 Gaia Spirit only. Which, oh, that is a huge load off our chest, I'll tell you. Anyway, that's another day of surprising discoveries with Arch and Spirit. For now, however, that's it for today's episode. I hope the integrated dynamics was mostly intelligible. I did operate from the assumption that you knew vaguely how integrated dynamics work. Sorry if you don't. I mean, this will be more interesting to people who use integrated dynamics anyway. But once you know the basics of integrated dynamics, hopefully this kind of thing will be pretty much intelligible. In the next episode, well, I'm caught up actually right now, so I don't know what we're doing in the next episode. But in the next episode, we'll probably have like an arc furnace. As always, if you have any comments that can help out other viewers playing this mod pack, let us know. And we will see you later. Say bye, Arch.
Bye.
Oh, you didn't land. Very sad.